everybody, welcome back to Harris Family Adventures. We are on my favorite day of our Italy trip. So Reece and I are going to talk about our day in Italy in Florence. So we had gotten to Florence the night before around probably 5:30 or so after a really long busy day. You can go back and look at our Italy playlist to see all of those videos. And we are going to spend the whole day in Florence. Now, what we talked about in the last video is our hotel I don't think it was a bad section of town. It probably wasn't the greatest section of town. It was pretty far, it felt like it was on the edges of town. I don't know, we were only there for like 36 hours, but that's what it felt like. So we started with breakfast, and like I've said before, we traveled with Gate 1 tours, and every hotel we stayed in, breakfast was included. So this was a Star Hotels. We also stay in a Star Hotels hotel in Rome, where we go next. So breakfast started at 6:30. Not great. We gave it a 3 out of 10, which is pretty low. As we've talked about again in last video, the bread in Tuscany tends to not have salt, so that's not great. They did have croissants. We just found the croissants in general, and we both really like croissants, some of them didn't have anything on the inside, like the squishy buttery part. It was just like that outside shell. A lot of them are stuffed with things, and we kind of just like them plain. I'm trying to think what I ate. Again, I think I stuck with just like a roll and some cheese slices. Did you even eat anything for breakfast? No. So not great. And then our bus was going to leave at 8. So we had the same bus the entire time that we were there, from when we left Venice till we were finished with Rome. So we met our bus, and it was able to pick us up right outside. We just had to cross the street, but pretty much right outside of our hotel. Again, kind of being a little bit farther from the action. At least our bus was able to get to the hotel. And then we parked closer to kind of where all of the interesting things are, and we took a short little walk, and we met our tour guide, Valentina. Now, like I've described before, sorry, we both came back with COVID. Another fun update. Francesca was our Gate 1 tour manager. So she was with us from literally when we got to our hotel, off of our water taxi in Venice, until she saw us onto the final taxi to get to the airport in Rome. So she was always with us. But then in each major stop, we had a guided tour guide for that specific city. And so I think Francesca had said that for Florence, they had to have a PhD level education plus 5 additional years of training just to be able to do these types of things. So Valentina's amount of knowledge was just indescribable. Florence was the city that we took the most pictures, especially this guided tour. So I'm just going to be throwing them up kind of randomly as we go. We loved them so much. We took a lot of pictures. We don't really remember a lot of them, kind of why we took their picture. I wish we could have recorded everything that she said, because it was just, there was so much information. It was awesome. She wasn't a slow talker. If you saw our Venice videos, she wasn't a slow talker. I mean, she didn't walk fast, but it never felt like we were kind of just standing there and waiting. There was just so much information coming. So it was a fantastic one. She showed us, some of the things that stuck out to me were a prison where women were kept in the 700s. Now it's a hotel. She just talked about all different, we learned a lot, and I've started watching the Netflix show, and I'm going to try and say it right, Medici family, and about, the bridge that they used to get to their houses and all of those types of things. It was just so interesting. And I will say it kind of spoiled us, because everything, and I'm sure this was true in Venice, we just didn't really get as much of a history lesson about Venice, but in Florence it became oh, that's only 500 years old, that's nothing. Reece loved the statue of David, thought that was so interesting. We heard the whole story behind it. So yes, I knew the iconic David statue, but to know how it's connected to the Medici family, and them being exiled, and why he's facing south, and just all of those things, I do remember those. We do remember those. So she was fantastic. I would go back to Florence tomorrow, but I am so glad we went with a guided tour. If I just went and just tried to kind of absorb it on my own, I wouldn't I wouldn't have as much information about it. So loved that, loved that. I think we got finished probably around noon. Our tour actually ended in a courtyard, and I'll put that picture here. And Reece, do you want to tell them about what the courtyard is used for?
It's a mix between American football, soccer, and rugby.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically just fighting.
Yeah, so again, our tour guide, her boyfriend had played in it, and she was telling us about there's 2 teams of 27, and once a year they play like this crazy game on this in this big piazza. Like they kind of fill it with sand, and then there's stands around the edges of it, and they watch it. So we ended there, and then there was a gold and leather shop. So that is what Florence is known for, their gold and their leather. So we went in and we listened to a goldsmith talk all about their gold and why their gold is better, and show us beautiful pieces that look like diamonds. It was crazy. It was beautiful. Way above our budget. And then a leather expert came in because they sold both of these things, and she showed us how to find real leather versus fake leather, and it was interesting. They did have bathrooms available, and while Reece was going to the bathroom, I found a hat for him, and I just thought, oh, this will be fun. I put him on. Once we tried something on, they were kind of, I don't want to say attack us, but they were kind of persistent. If you grew up in the 90s like I did, and there was like the buckle challenge, it felt like being in the buckle. Sorry if you're young and you don't know what that is, but that's what it felt like. So we skedaddled out of there, and then we had the rest of the time to ourselves until dinner that night. So we had a good chunk of time to ourselves. So we walked around, like I said, we kind of looked at some other things again that we had seen, but we weren't able to go inside. We didn't have tickets or reservations for any place specifically. At one point, we even went inside, like there was a courtyard area. I'll put a picture of it here. And it's just beautiful. We don't really know much about it. That was a government building. I think we remembered that from our guided tour. But then to actually get into more of the building itself, you need a ticket. And we kind of looked, the line didn't seem super long, but we had so much good luck in just kind of wandering about. So we didn't get too in depth in getting a ticket and getting inside any of the buildings. But like there was an outdoor building. I mean, there was an outdoor area with just tons of statues, and they had a little. They were original, and they had descriptions about what each statue was. So is it as in-depth? No, but we were able to read them and kind of absorb some information that way. We found a random carousel, so we went on a carousel. So yeah, we just, again, kind of enjoyed that time on our own. And then we decided to find lunch. Now, this is also where like having a Gate 1 tour guide is really helpful, because she had said, you know, when we were in Venice and St. Mark's Square, like the restaurants there are very, very expensive. You know, you can go a little bit off and you can find a cheaper place. But she said this time, the Duomo, we didn't even talk about the Duomo. Okay, we're going to get back to that. But she had said around the Duomo, it doesn't make sense because that's like the highlight of a lot of people's visit to Florence, but the restaurants are actually fairly reasonable. And so we wanted to go back to the Duomo and eat. And here's why. When we were walking down the street, Francesca said again, just like with the Leaning Tower, this is going to be a Mamma Mia moment. And we were walking down, and I'll put the picture here, and we saw this. And we're like, oh my gosh, wow, that's just amazing. I said, Reece, take pictures. That's so beautiful. That's so cool. Oh, that was just the baptistry. Because then we turned around and we saw this. And this is how we were starting our tour. So we're going back in time a little bit. This is how we were starting our tour. And we were just, I mean, it was Mamma Mia. We were flabbergasted. There's just no words. We're 2 weeks out and I still don't have the words for it. It's just amazing. And again, when we've shown our pictures to family and friends, I think they're like, oh, wow. But standing there takes your breath away. It's just so amazing. Did we go in it? No. Did I think we were going to get to go in it? Yes. So did I buy a ticket? No. And then we didn't. And I think that's something, that's the one place I really wish we would have gone in. We would have had the time to do it in the afternoon. If I would have known, we would have gone on and gotten tickets somehow. But we didn't, and the outside itself was just so beautiful. And we went then to the baptistry. We didn't go inside of it, but we were able to see the doors, picture here, hear about the doors, that sort of thing. So anyway, now we're going back. Sorry, maybe it's that COVID brain fog let's talk about. We decided to eat lunch kind of next to the Duomo. So as we approached it, we were kind of approaching it from the backside. So we're like, oh, you know, this would be so pretty to sit along this backside and watch. And then we kind of came around the side and we ended up sitting at this restaurant. So it was kind of along the side of it. But it was just magnificent. And I'm just gonna pause here for just a second. This is as we're eating lunch. We're just sitting there eating lunch, and this is what we hear. Hey everybody, this is editing Heather in the future. I have Reece next to me, but I am working on this Florence video and it is getting very long. So this is gonna be part 1 of 2. So make sure that you subscribe and you watch the next video to come out because it's gonna be all about our relaxing afternoon and very fun evening.
Can't forget the day we met. Your eyes so blue, me a person.